Good afternoon, everyone. iTech India welcomes all the participants for today's National Distance Learning Seminar. Kindly note that the questions will be taken up at the end of the session, so please feel free to write in the chat box. Today's topic is strengthening systems for monitoring the adverse effects of DTG, and the speaker is Dr. Reshu Agarwal. Dr. Reshu Agarwal is currently working as a public health specialist with CDC India office and supporting NACO in transition to DTG based regimens. We welcome you, ma'am, for today's session.
Thank you, Shweta. So, as Shweta mentioned, that today's session is about strengthening the adverse effect monitoring systems at ART centers. So, the objective would be to capacitate the ART centers to detect, monitor, respond, document, and to report the adverse effects of ARV drugs with more focus on dolutegravir. So in my presentation, I would be discussing about the NACO recommended ART regimen, which like no NACO has released so many office orders recently. So we would just have a recap of those. Then I would be discussing about the rationale for monitoring the adverse effects, major side effects or adverse effects associated with ARV drugs, DTG related adverse effects. Then I have some case studies for interactions, adverse effect monitoring approaches, what is like routine ARV toxicity monitoring and what is active monitoring. And then we will discuss like what the ART centers can do to strengthen the monitoring of adverse effects at their sites. So just to recap, like the what are the recommendations on ART regimen. So NACO has like in the recent months issued so many office memorandums, and you would have seen these office memorandums. So now, as per these office memorandums, DTG-based regimen is the preferred first-line ART for all PLHIV with age more than 10 years or weight more than 20 kg. So if the age is more than 10 years and weight is more than 30 kg, you can use, this is 6 years, you can use TLD. Otherwise, you can use DTG with other ARVs. So first line regimen for initiation of ART naive patient, you know that TLD is the preferred regimen. For children also, if the weight of the children is more than 20 kg and the age is more than 6 years, uh, you can use DTG with abacavir and lamivudine. Then you also got the office memorandums regarding the transitioning of the existing patients. And as of now, the transitioning has to be done for the patients who are on ZLN as well as who are on TLE. And this guidance is like if the patients are suppressed, then they have to patient on ZLN. If they are suppressed, they have to be shifted to TLT. And if they are not suppressed, then also they have to be shifted to TLD. But it is important to document their viral load status if possible. Then for transitioning the patients on TLE, if the patients are suppressed, then they have to be shifted to TLD, fixed drug combination. And if the patients are not suppressed, then zidovudine, lamivudine with DTG 50 milligram tablet has to be considered. Similarly, for second line ART, DTG based regimen is the preferred second line regimen for all PLHIV. So I'll not go in detail of this table, but you can read through this table, and this has been discussed many a times and is also available in your office memorandum. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer. Similarly, for third line, again, DTG based regimen is the preferred regimen, and DTG 50 milligram tablet has to be used with doranavir and ritonavir tablet. Also, I think by now the transitioning of the patients who were on RAL based regimen would have been done, so I will not get into details of this. Now coming to the topic, like should we implement ARV drug adverse effect monitoring? What is adverse effect of a drug? Adverse effect of a drug is a response which is harmful or unintended and which occurs at the doses which are normally used in human beings for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy. The adverse effects are usually characterized by a causal relationship, that you know that you gave some medicine to a patient and after that the patient started complaining about that adverse effect. Now coming to the importance of monitoring of ARV adverse effects. So adverse effects can lead to reduced quality of life. They can even like lead to treatment interruption. If they really interfere with the quality of life, patients might stop the treatment. Uh, then they can lead to treatment failure, avoidable morbidity, deaths, and then like at times they add cost to the services or to the burden to the health system because of the hospitalization. So if you see overall the adverse reactions, they pose risk to the individual as well as to the program in terms of the overall outcomes. Rationale for monitoring the adverse effects of DTG. Now, because DTG is the regimen which is is the ARV drug which is the most common in the program, and as you saw in our previous discussion on the ARV regimen, DTG is part of the first line ARV regimen, second line ARV regimen, as well as third line ARV regimen. So most of our patients in the national program would be in due course would be on DTG based regimen only. And for now, DTG is a very new regimen for the Indian national program, and we don't have any information or data like how our patients would respond. So it is very important that we start monitoring our patients for adverse effect of DTG. Any early recognition and management of adverse reactions will help to improve the adherence in patients and also the treatment outcomes and to take a right decision. Also, because DTG is a new drug, so there are some potential risk associated with this new drug which are coming up, and there's a signal about the weight gain which is coming up, especially with DTG and TAF. So we need to understand how our population, how our patients would respond to DTG based regimen. So generally speaking, what are the major side effects associated with ARVs? Sorry. So usually patients would complain of the gastrointestinal complaints like nausea, diarrhea. At times they complain of the body pains, headache, fatigue, rash, and neuropsychiatric symptoms like dizziness or sleepiness. So if we talk about the adverse effects by groups, we see the liver disorders, renal disorders, or CVD, or at times skin disorders or the GI disorders are the common ones, which are found with most of the ARV drugs, whichever class they belong to. With DTG, the liver disorders, CNS toxicity, and the skin disorders are more common. Coming to the major side effects associated with DTG, so, this has already been discussed in the previous sessions on the introduction of DTG-based regimen in the program. So, DTG has very fewer side effects and is comparatively safe and is very well tolerated by the patients. Till now, from the program settings, we have data from 3 countries, Botswana, Brazil, and Kenya, which adopted DTG-based regimen early in 2016 or 2017. In Botswana, the follow-up of 57,000 patients was done, and the proportion of patients who reported adverse effects was 1%. In Brazil, a cohort of 1 lakh patient was followed up, and the adverse effects reported were 2%. And in Kenya, 11,000 patients were followed up, and the adverse effect reported was 7%. So overall, you see that the adverse effect reported in the program settings for DTG are relatively very few. From Brazil, which was a big cohort, we know the common side effects which were reported were nausea, diarrhea, headache, dizziness, insomnia, drowsiness, vomiting, itching, abdominal pain, and alopecia. And overall, the prevalence of the side effects was 2.24%. Of the total 2.24% adverse effects which were reported from Brazil, 88% side effects were not serious and did not warranted any change of regimen or any specific follow-up. 0.68% put the lives at the risk, 0.99% caused persistent or severe disability, 1.42% side effects led to hospitalizations, and nearly 9% did not lead to hospitalization or disability or lives at risk, but were considered as serious by the doctors there. So from as I was speaking earlier, that there are some signals coming about the weight gain and increase in the BMI. So we have some studies which are going on. So I would be discussing the interim results from these trials. So one is the advanced trial, which is being done in South Africa, and the results or the follow-up at 96 weeks show that the female patients had a weight gain, especially if they were on TAF and DTG. So this study showed that the weight gain was more prominent in women and also was more prominent if the patients were on TAF as compared to tenofovir, TDF. The other study is the NAMSAL trial, which is again a multi-center study done in Cameroon. And this study also showed that it actually compared the uh, TDF3TC DTG with TDF3TC efavirenz, and this study also showed that there was comparatively there was some weight gain in the patients who were started on DTG based regimen. In this study, the weight gain was more prominent in men, and the uh, uh, when the authors they saw the factors which were associated with the weight gain, it showed that it has some relationship with the baseline CD4 counts, baseline BMI, and also the geographic distribution of the patients. Also, the other study, which is from the Africa, which is called AFRICOS or the African cohort study, it also showed that there was a significant risk of weight gain in patients, but the hyperglycemia was very mild. So as you can see, all these studies have been done in African settings, and there might be some factors associated with the distribution or the localization of the population there, and might be contributing to weight gain. So this is something which needs further study. And in our population, as I said, we don't have any information as of now, so we do not know how our population or how our patients will respond to DTG based regimen. So it is very important from to keep an eye or to screen our patients for any weight gain or BMI from very beginning. And you must recall from the earlier sessions that WHO actually recommends that all the patients who are being started on DTG based regimen, they should be guided for proper exercise or yoga or some sort of physical activity. That is very important. So the other risk, which was which is talked a lot, is about the neural tube defects associated with DTG. And now in the International AIDS Conference 2020, an updated data was presented, which showed that the overall risk is only 0.91% as of April 2020. And if you see, in the non-DTG based regimen, if the patient is not on a DTG based regimen, even then the risk is around 0.11%. So there is not much statistical difference between the DTG based regimen and the non-DTG based regimen. So comparatively, what was thought earlier, that the potential neural tube defect risk is very high with DTG, that is not the case, and it is comparatively less an issue as more data is being made available. And hopefully, as more and more data comes in, we will have more information, and this would not be a big issue. So this data was also discussed by the NACO technical resource group. And the decision or the recommendation which the NACO technical resource group makes about the use of DTG among women of childbearing potential is that the women of childbearing age should be provided appropriate information about the benefits and risk of DTG, and they should be provided appropriate medical guidance which is suitable for the women and to make an informed choice. And there would be like no different scenarios what like no the ART providers at the ART centers should do. If a woman plans to become pregnant, then she should be counseled about the benefits of DTG and also the slight risk of DTG related to neural tube defects. And she should be like no guided like no what would be the best for her, even after explaining the immense benefits and a slight risk of DTG. If the woman does not wish to continue on DTG based regimen, then other options may be considered, but otherwise women can be started or on a DTG based regimen. If a woman is already on DTG based regimen and she gets pregnant, then DTG based regimen has to be continued and the patient has to be adequately counseled. All newly diagnosed pregnant women are to be offered DTG based regimen after proper counseling. And all women who are not pregnant and not on who are pregnant and not on DTG based regimen, they should be shifted to DTG based regimen as soon as possible, because DTG overall has benefits of a quicker viral load suppression and prevention of transmission from mother to child. Um, for renal or hepatic insufficiency, for renal insufficiency, there is no established side effect, and no dose adjustment or changes are required. For hepatic insufficiency, no dose adjustment is required, and even if the child PUE score is A or B, no dose change is required. But if the child PUE score is C, then DTG is contraindicated. Coming, sorry, coming to the drug interactions with DTG. So most of the drugs do not have interactions. The regular drugs which are used by patients, they don't have any interactions or do not require any dose adjustment. So such as hormonal contraceptives, antimalarials, methadone, rifabutin, beta blockers, or any antidepressants. So no dose adjustment is required. Few drugs have interactions and they need some dose adjustment, and one is rifampicin. So if your patient is HIV TB co-infected and is on a rifampicin containing anti-TB treatment, then an additional dose of 50 milligram DTG has to be given. If the patient is taking some antacid or calcium or iron supplements, in those cases, either the drug has to be taken, DTG based regimen has to be taken 2 hours before or 6 hours after TLD. If the patient is on metformin, then the dose of metformin should not increase from 1 gram per day, because DTG actually increases the absorption of metformin and increases the area under curve. Some drugs are contraindicated and should not be used with DTG, and these are phenytoin and phenobarbital. So here I have a case study, and I would suggest ask everyone to respond in the chat box. So Mr. M was previously taking TLE, but recently changed to DTG containing regimen, which is like case with many of your patients now. Now at her follow-up appointment, she complains about not being able to sleep at night. What would you ask Miss M, and what advice could you give to Miss M? Could you type your answers in the chat box? Yes, I'm waiting for more answers. Right. So I think I'm getting some right answers here. So basically, you should ask that patient that on whether she is taking any other concomitant drug along with her ARVs, and also you should guide that patient to take DTG on some other time and not at the bedtime. So she could actually take DTG during morning. That's the best solution for her problem. Okay, and usually like the symptoms which come like the insomnia, it's usually self-limiting, and the body actually improves over time. So is another case study. Mr. A was referred to your clinic after testing HIV positive at a TB clinic where he received the TB treatment also. He reports feeling better after taking the ATT and is motivated to start ART today. You started CPT also. Okay. What additional considerations are there for Mr. A starting on DTG regimen? Would you start Mr. A on ART as any other patient, or would you be like no mindful of something? Yes. So if a patient is co-infected with TB, additional dose of DTG 50 milligram has to be given till the time patient is on TB treatment. Next case study. Your patient Michael has TB. He is currently undergoing treatment for TB and HIV simultaneously. He comes to you complaining of feeling like his legs and arms are tingling. What questions would you ask him? What do you suspect? What is happening? What do you think? Why is he having tingling? Excellent. I think I'm getting very good answers here. So it could be INH neuropathy. So you have to be like very mindful that what is the concomitant treatment patient is having, or is there a comorbid condition and patient might be developing the adverse effect because of that drug also. So it may like every time ARV drug may not be the culprit. So please remember that whenever the patient is complaining of something, you have to assess the entire medical history or the treatment history and try to find out what other medication the patient is taking. So coming to the operational aspects of adverse effect monitoring, so what are the approaches which WHO recommends? So basically there are two approaches. One is the routine monitoring of the adverse effects of drugs, and the other is the active monitoring. So routine monitoring is what you do at the ART center. That is generally when the patient comes to you, you ask the patient about any side effects, you note down those side effects in the white card, and then you try to manage the patient accordingly, like whatever is the as per the technical guidelines. So this is more integrated in the routine care and also integrated into the routine M&E systems of the ART center. The other is the active monitoring, where it is no, in addition to the active monitoring is usually done in addition to the routine monitoring, and it is more of enhanced or intensified monitoring, which includes no, more of long-term follow-ups and more of active assessment of the patients, and even lab investigations for the patients to assess any adverse effects of the drugs. So right now, NACO is actually planning to do this kind of intensified or active monitoring at 60 ART centers across the country, so that we also no, we are able to systematically collect some data and understand that how the population of India, or how the Indian patients are responding to DTG based regimen. But in this session, we will focus more on the routine monitoring, which is usually done by all the ART medical officers at the ART centers. And when I'm saying routine monitoring, it means the systems to detect, monitor, respond, document, and report adverse effects of ARV drugs to NACO. So, what are the current challenges which usually exist at the ART centers in terms of routine monitoring of patients for adverse effects? One, there is no gap in assessment of PLH-IAV for adverse effects. So usually either the patients would not tell you something, or no, we at times no, while consulting the patient forget to ask if the patient is having any adverse effects related to the drugs. even if at times if these adverse effects are reported, then it is very important to document them in the white card, to note them down in the white card, like what the patient is complaining about. Then if at times the documentation is done in white card, but then this data is not entered in IMS or SOCH, and it is not reported in NACO. So at all levels, from assessment of the patient till reporting to NACO, there are gaps in reporting of the data on adverse effect. And this data is on adverse effects is very important, especially for the national program, because all the decisions on what should be the appropriate regimen for our patients, how our patients are responding to a particular regimen. So all these questions remain unanswered if this data is not collected properly. So most of the times what happens, when the NACO technical resource group sits, the data is available from studies outside the country, and our national data is not available on the adverse effects. And that's why at times it is very difficult for the experts to take a decision to make a appropriate choice for treatment regimens. So it is very important for for the patient management also, to capture the adverse effects and to respond to the adverse effects appropriately. And it is also important from the program aspect also to document these adverse effects and report them to NACO. So talking about the detection, monitoring, and how do you respond to the adverse effects, it is very important to actively probe and assess the patients for side effects. And whenever the patient is coming to you, you can just have some guiding questions for you. You can ask, did you experience any symptoms since you initiated ART, or after your last visit, or when your ART was changed? Are you experiencing any symptoms now? And then have you skipped any dose because of the adverse effect? Because it happens at times, patients, they have some, or they develop some side effect, and then they stop taking the drugs, or they take partial medication. So it is very important to assess all the patient for with the help of these questions. Then how do you respond to the adverse effects? We did discuss some of the case studies also, and then the NACO technical guidelines, they in detail discuss about the management of adverse effects of the drugs, other than DTG, and DTG will be incorporated in the national guidelines very soon. Also, whenever the patients are reporting for any adverse effects, it is very important to understand that, because DTG is a new drug, so most of the times we tend to think that whatever is happening is because of the DTG. But please do think about the other components of ARV drugs which are given as a regimen to the patient. So if the patient is on tenofovir, lamivudine, DTG, the side effect could be because of the tenofovir and not because of DTG. So it is very important to understand that. Also, please assess your patients for any comorbid conditions and any concomitant medications they are on, or if they are taking any OI treatment, as we discussed about that case of TB, that the patient had neuropathy because of INH. So it was not related to DTG or the ARV. So it is very important to assess the patient for any comorbid condition and or any concomitant treatment. So please do ask that. As per the national technical guidelines, the grading of the adverse effects is done into 4 types: mild, moderate, severe, or life-threatening. Mild is basically discomfort causing no interference with the activity. Moderate is discomfort causing greater than minimal interference with normal or social activities. Grade 3 or the severe reaction is basically discomfort resulting in inability to perform the normal or the regular activities. And grade 4 is basically any condition which results in a life-threatening situation, or immediate hospitalization, or prolonged of the existing hospitalization, or persistent patient disability or incapacity. So these are 4 grades which have to be applied to all the adverse effects which are reported by the patients. And for the action which has to be taken based on these grades is if it is grade 1 toxicity, you continue with the same ARV and offer some symptomatic treatment to the patient. If it is grade 2 toxicity, then you continue with the ARV as long as feasible and offer the symptomatic relief to the patient. But if there is no improvement and the patient is deteriorating, then you consider substituting the offending ARV drug. If it is a grade 3 severe reaction, then you substitute the offending drug without discontinuing the ART and monitor the patient closely. If it is grade 4, then you immediately discontinue all ARV drugs, the entire regimen, including the ARVs, and manage the adverse effect which the patient is reporting. The patient often in such conditions will require hospitalization, and you should immediately refer the patient for inpatient admission. When the patient is stabilized, then you can reintroduce ARVs using modified regimen, and you can, for such conditions, you can always make a referral to SASEP or take guidance from the SASEPs. So coming to documentation and reporting of adverse effects, you have the white card, and in the white card, it is very important to meticulously document all the information. And at the end of the day, you should check all the white cards whether the appropriate information from the patient has been collected and recorded in the white cards or not. So in section 6, as you can see, which is highlighted in the green box, you have the treatment summary where you write the current regimen. If you are substituting or switching the regimen, you write the date, then what you are doing with the patient, whether you're stopping, substituting, or switching the regimen. Then you write the reason, why are you doing that, and then you write the date of the restart of the treatment and what is the new regimen you're starting the patient on. So please, this section of the white card has to be documented very properly, especially when you're making all these transitions to DTG based regimen, and also if you make any change in the regimen because of the side effects. So please mention the appropriate reason for any substitution or switch you are making in the regimen. Then in section 9 of the white card, you have this section or the cells for indicating the comorbid condition, and you have examples here: hepatitis B, C, Kala Azar. So this is a section which you can use for non-communicable diseases also. If the patient is diabetic or having cardiovascular diseases, please do document about those comorbid conditions also. Also, it is important to record the information about the pregnancy and the birth outcomes in women. Then you have this section in the white card on the investigations. So whenever the investigations are done at baseline or during follow-up, it is very important to document the results of those investigations or the labs. Then this is the monthly follow-up section, section 13. Here you have cells for opportunistic infection, and then the drugs which you're giving to the patient for OI management or for prophylaxis, or if you're giving IPT or CPT. So those things are to be documented very properly in the white cards. And also in the columns 15 of section 13, you have the ART side effects, which are to be chosen from the box given below in the red. Right? And then you can always utilize the remarks column. If you are getting any side effect, you could actually use the remarks column to write what is the action you have taken, what is the grading of the toxicity, and then what was the follow-up or the outcome of the patients after you had taken the action. So most of the adverse effects are available in the white card. These codings are available in the white cards, as you can see on the left. And there are some asterisk mark on some of the toxicities where you need some lab investigations to specify that these toxicities or adverse effects are happening. So obviously the white cards were prepared, or they were made when DTG was not available in the program. So with DTG, we know some of the new side effects or new signals are coming up. So some of these side effects could be abdominal pain, anxieties, dizziness or vertigo, insomnia, neuropsychiatric symptoms, nightmares, numbness, polydipsia, polyuria, indicating diabetes, and others. So currently there is sections in the in the coding of side effects which says others specify, you could use that part and then indicate the right adverse effect which you are finding, and soon the white cards would also be revised to include more toxic conditions. Please, in the remarks column, like no, whenever you find any adverse effect in the remarks column, please write the action which you have taken. So whether you changed the regimen or regimen was not changed, or you stopped the regimen. Also, if the patient required some hospitalization, that should be indicated. In terms of follow-up, please do mention that whether the adverse effect is improving or not, whether it resolved or not, if like no, if whether the patient has recovered, or if the patient recovered with a sequelae or some disability, or the patient died because of the side effect, or any other thing is specified. So the remarks column can be used to document all these things pertaining to adverse effects in the white card. Also in the IMS and SOCH module, so you this is basically the screenshot of a window from IMS or the SOCH, and here also from the white card the information has to be put in the right entry field. So you have the field for ART side effects, and you have a drop down menu here. So from the drop down menu you have to search for the right adverse effect and document that in the IMS. Also any concurrent condition, or like if the patient is on any concomitant treatment, that medication has to be specified. If you're changing the regimen, that has to be specified, and the name of the new regimen has to be written here. So all this information is available in the white card, but it has to from white card it has to be translated into IMS so that it becomes part of your regular reporting. So it is very important, because if it is just lying in the white card and it is not being entered in IMS, or it's not being digitized, it does not make any sense. And it does, I mean, program cannot use this information if it's just lying in your ART center. So please make all efforts to report any adverse effects to the national program. And with DTG, you might be getting some new signals, some unknown, uh, our population might behave in a very different manner, so we might get some new signals or very unknown adverse effects also. So it is very important to assess your patients properly for any adverse effect and then document those adverse effects. And because when all ART centers start reporting these adverse effects, then national program will have some idea what are the common adverse effects our patients are facing in our country. And that piece is very important to decide the course of treatment for the patients. So whatever information I discussed about the white card, so all that information, if it is triangulated, it could give you a very good information. And national program is looking for for these key indicators on adverse effect. These indicators are proportion of PLHIV who are reporting adverse effect, what is the severity of these adverse effects, whether these are mild, moderate, severe, and also for how long did the patient suffer with these adverse effects. Is there a median or average time between the development of the adverse effect and then the exposure to a DTG based regimen or any other new regimen, because we do not know, some of the adverse effects might come up very soon after starting the ART. Some would be long term side effects, and which might come up after years, maybe after a year, after 2 years, or after 5 years. And we know we have an example from stavudine. We initially didn't know about the adverse effect profile of stavudine, and but then later on the problem uh, of stavudine toxicity came up. So and also no, to understand the, but though I already said that we have a go ahead to use DTG in women of childbearing potential after appropriate counseling. But again, but I think it is important to even if the patients are being started on DTG, it's important to document their birth outcomes. And also to understand what proportion of patients required any change of regimen if they developed adverse effects. So all this information is available in your white card. So if you fill up your white cards properly, the information can be cross triangulated, and all the interpretations can be made, so that healthy and appropriate decisions about the patient regimen can be made by national program. And also it helps you to manage your patients better, to retain them better. So that's all from my side. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Those. Shweta, are there any questions?
Yes, ma'am. 3 questions. Shall I share my screen, ma'am?
Yeah, please. I should stop sharing.
Yes, ma'am. One is ZLN to TLD after regimen change. We have diagnosed symptoms of patient like loss of weight, sugar level is increased, newly diagnosis of diabetes after 2 to 3 months. Is this possible after changing to TLD regimen?
Sure. So I think I discussed this at length. Like, no, it could be associated with DTG, it could not be. So we do not know, and there are like no some baseline factors which play a very important role. So I'm not sure like no whether the like no baseline sugar levels were available or not. And usually like no with DTG there is a tendency for weight gain. So here you are saying like loss of weight, which could be because of a um, comorbid condition also. So I think it would be important to like know to understand the reason for the loss of weight in this case. Sugar may be increased, but again, I mean, we do not know. We don't have data on the Indian population, and even from the African studies which we have, there was like no more chances of developing of having increased weight gain, and also like no increase in BMI. But hyperglycemia was something which was not like no that common. So I mean, it is still like no premature to associate this with DTG, but then obviously like no if we get more data and if we start like no uh, systematically investigating such cases, it would be helpful. And I think we all are like no learning from this kind of experience. So maybe like no I mean whichever ART center it is, it may be good to like no keep track and keep investigating your patients for this and just see like whether we are getting some is this very common, and also to understand like no the baseline status would be very important. So it could be a pre-diabetic patient or an undiagnosed diabetic patient who's like sort of like no developed hyperglycemia after giving DTG.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll skip the next question. It's covered in the third one. Since TLE will no longer be available, as all patients who are on TLE and are virally suppressed are to be shifted to TLD, then what about patients who are on tablet Gardanil or Epition? What regimen to be followed?
um, so program has not like no actually getting away with TLE. So alternate regimen would still be available in the program. Like if you cannot use DTG based regimen for some reason, alternate regimen would be available in the program.
Yeah, the next question is cardiologists also advise TLE instead of TLD with the drug warfarin. What will be better to substitute TLE or warfarin?
um, so because like I'll speak more from HIV perspective. So since like no DTG is comparatively a more potent drug, like no as far as like no the treatment of HIV is concerned, and like no the benefits of DTG are concerned. So if possible, I think we could continue on TLD. But if there are no options available, then like no we could use alternate drug.
Thank you, ma'am. Only these 3 in the chat box.
If there are any
Participants are
more
requested
questions,
to please unmute or add questions to the chat box. Participants can unmute themselves. Ma'am,
So I don't think we have more questions.
the question has again been
Yeah.
repeated in the chat box. If patient on Eption, which ART regimen to be initiated?
So such patients could still be initiated on TLE, or you could use alternate of Eptoin.
I think only those many questions.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am,
Okay.
for the informative session. Thank you to all the participants for patient listening. Please feel free to write back to us if you have any questions, and we'll forward it to Reshu, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.